Welcome to the Culture Stoke podcast, where happier people lead to better results. Well, good morning.
Good day.
Culture Stoke compadres.
Howdy.
It is another day. It's Blur's Day. Welcome to the
Aloha.
Culture Stoke podcast. As always, I am Richard. I am the host, joined with the co-founders. This is Marty right here on my left. And that is Wesley. Wes the man. Wesley Snipes.
You can't overcompensate by saying my name multiple times because you've forgotten it the last two episodes.
Listen here, I only forgot it once, and it wasn't a forget. It was a moment of despair. You know, that's how it manifested. All right. Well, this is our Stoke sessions. These are short, succinct, and punchy. We want to punch you in the face with wisdom and joy, among other things, or maybe something. Anyway, so the rules of the game. I reach in. I don't know what I am going to get out. Marty and Wes are going to answer as succinctly as possible, and I will argue with them.
Yeah. How do people get in on this, by the way?
They comment on the content anywhere, and we will answer. We'll put it in there. So if you have a question, let us know on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, anywhere we're posting. Call us, Raven. However you can get a hold of us. And we will write them and put them in. And then
shout you out.
Invitations into the DMs as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Invitations, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, invitations.
Slide
in into our DMs. That's the way to do it. All right, so rules of the game. I grab it. We go. Ready?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Oh, you already saw it. I saw you saw it.
I saw there are two.
Okay. Oh, there are two. Should the rule if two stick, it should be like a conjoined question or just
put them behind the back and kind of mix them up and then have Marty pick an arm.
All right.
That one.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You guys don't like that one. All right. Development. Tell us, how can leaders and organizations properly, correctly develop their people?
Ooh, fantastic. I love this one. Really, one of the greatest opportunities for leaders is to be able to grow their people. And in order to grow your people, you need to understand how you can potentially provide pathways for someone to grow beyond the initial role that they're hired for. So quickly look at all of the roles that exist within your organization and note job title, the department, the function,
Right.
And start from the top and then work your way down and try to not only list those roles, but think about where there's connection points. So if somebody is brought on as a junior position, if they do demonstrate knowledge, skills, aptitude, etc., to be successful within the role and beyond, look to see, okay, maybe this junior position might potentially lead into this middle management position or lead into this other area of the organization, and ultimately create a little bit of a choose your own adventure pathway for your team members to not only explore different career opportunities, but to lean in and be like, hey, I really want to do this. Okay, if you want to do this, what are some things that we can do to help support you in growing into this role? Maybe it's a role that they take on primarily, or it's a role that they use to back up and support somebody. If say somebody's out sick or is going to be out of town for a while, hey, we can have them cross-trained in this area so we can now have additional flexibility and continuity, and also provide opportunities for our business to operate more effectively, while also giving people avenues to pursue growth and discover new talents that they might not otherwise know they have.
Love it. So that was good. That was very succinct.
Almost like he knows what he's saying.
So point of clarity, do you when you say explore those branches, if you will, are you talking about like when you bring in a staff member, you're going to sit them down and show them these? Like how practically is a leader doing that? What does that mean?
Yeah, it could actually be a part of your development program. So our encouragement is going to be to talk with your people on a relatively consistent basis about not only how they're performing, but what are some opportunities that they might see for themselves or you might see for them
within the organization.
Because if you can keep people focused and engaged and wanting to learn and grow, that is even within their job roles. It could be, hey, here's a certification, or this is a specialty that you can learn here. Give people the opportunity to master or expand within their role.
Love it.
And provide a little bit of coaching and feedback about what talents or opportunities you might see for them, because it's not uncommon for somebody to think not to be aware of the opportunities that could otherwise be presented. So I think, I don't know if I answered your question.
I think so. Well, so what I heard you said, well, do you have more?
Now it's coming back. Sorry.
There we go.
So first and foremost, talk to your schedule regular feedback sessions with your team.
Okay.
So could be quarterly or semi-annual evaluations, stay interviews, what have you, but also give your team members the opportunity to do a little bit of a self-evaluation.
How are those, I mean, just as a point of contrast in my mind, how are those different? You know, because I think a lot of what we are talking about with Culture Stoke is how almost to shift paradigms around workplace. You mentioned like quarterly performance reviews, stuff like that. How is that like different? Because I feel like that's what everybody does. So how do
you'd hope?
Well, yeah. I mean, but you know, if to the layman, you know, not a organizational person who's, you know, helped and coached organization. That's what I perceive of organizations. Like, well, you were here for your quarterly review or whatever. How does a leader make that like moment great from a developmental standpoint?
Fantastic. You make it great by giving people very clear takeaways from their performance.
Yeah.
These are things that you're doing really well. We want to see more of. These are things they might give opportunities to improve, and always provide opportunities to grow, even if someone's doing great.
Yeah.
So maybe if they are doing so great, we might want you to join the training team so you can help develop other people.
Right.
But also provide opportunities for them to, I would say, ask them open-ended questions so they can provide their own insight into how they think they're doing. What are the things that they enjoy about it? What are some things that are frustrating them? What are areas that they might want to be able to explore, and really create a conversation around creating avenues of possibility?
And I imagine, and Wes, I'm gonna knock it on over you next, baby. But I imagine a lot of that too comes back to, I mean, we always say this, but like, hey, connection. If you have established connection with your people, those, you know, those reviews are very productive. They're helpful. They also then now are illuminating paths of development for those people. So Wes, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah. Well,
development. How do we develop our people?
How do we develop our people?
Yeah.
Well, I think Marty touched on something that's really important is giving people the autonomy to be self-directed.
To say it, yeah.
So they're able to view, I mean, growing up, choose your own adventure stories were wildly popular. I don't know if they still are. I don't read. But choose your own adventure stories were popular because people like to be able to make decisions for themselves. And so one of the pitfalls is, as a leader, thinking, oh, I have to be the one to drive this and I have to be the one. No, show them the path, give them the clear directive, and then let them go and explore. The next thing that I would say is make it part of their performance expectations, that growing myself is my job, is part of my job, not ancillary, not optional. No, our expectation is that you are looking to grow and develop yourself, and it can be very small and tactical ways, or very big and strategic ways. Like, I want to be the boss someday. Cool. How are you doing on that path? And then the last piece that I think can make it a little simpler for folks is just being very clear about what it is that you're willing to offer in-house, which means you can utilize the skill sets of the people that are in your organization, because there's lots of expertise. So I love creating cultures of each one teach one, where it's like you have subject matter experts that are great at running meetings or
each one teach one.
Each one teach one.
Okay.
So using the collective expertise and knowledge of your organization as you're a bit of a think tank. You give people opportunities to share skills. Rising tide raises all boats and all that good stuff. And then you can figure out, what are the things that, you know, we're willing to offer in-house? What are the things that we would need to send you out for, you know, to conferences? What sort of certifications? And then what sort of continuing education? So if you need to go get a degree, tuition reimbursement programs are fantastic. And if you show the willingness to invest in your people, you will find that they will want to reciprocate that investment. Right. So
that's great.
You know, I think those three things are if you really want to.
So same again, really succinctly, what those three things were.
So giving them the autonomy to be self-directed. Okay.
Adventure books.
Yeah, the adventure. Choose your own adventure books. Okay. Using the collective expertise of the people that are in-house. Yeah, as a bit of a think tank, and then just systemizing what are the things that you're willing to do or are able to do in-house versus the things that you need to send people out for, and then investigate different ways of continuing education to invest in your people.
Nice. I like it. So I kind of heard, I mean, you guys, we're talking about kind of the branch. There's the, hey, let's actually figure out what all of our opportunities are within the organization, make those clear, whether systematically or in meetings, whatever. And, you know, be intentional and thoughtful in that, and then relational connect. We had there was autonomy, there was the think tank, and then there was the,
like systemizing, just knowing what you're willing to offer and what you're willing to send people out for.
Okay.
And be clear about it. And I think we're gonna have a hiring a hiring series coming up. Sorry. But even being very transparent about
in the beginning.
In the beginning, because people are looking for development. We mentioned it, I think, in episode 1 or 2. I feel
like it's come up a lot.
Z is coming in with the expectation that you have that in place. It is a very external way to show that you have your what together as an organization. You are able to show people, if you want to grow, this is a place you can grow.
How do you guys, so I mean, this is kind of like a follow-up, it's still in the same rung, but you guys kind of alluded to two things, and it's like, hey, we're never saying that what you're saying is just like, oh, go do that. You know, there's obviously a very complex. So that's the whole point of the Stoke sessions is like, hey, we're given succinct answers that obviously have a lot of complexity. So stay tuned for more. But, you know, because we'll give context in bigger episodes. But, you know, you guys have both mentioned development, and then even like having some level of autonomy in giving people that opportunity to self-identify, hey, I want to
make it part of their role.
Now, here's the thing, though, because I'm just trying to be a little bit contrast here. We've talked about kind of the transactional nature of like, well, hey, I only pay you to do this job. Mm-hmm. How can a leader, you know, because again, I think most people listening to this are probably, at minimum, desire to be good leaders, aspire to be good leaders, and or are good leaders, or are great leaders, you know? So at some level, they all want to be a good leader, whether they are now or not.
There's not a person in the world that wakes up wanting to suck at their job. That includes leaders. They don't want to be terrible at what they do.
Exactly. So how would you guys, quickly, concisely coach a leader to kind of bridge that gap, to make it not feel so transactional, like that development piece, and if that exists, which my guess is a lot of businesses generally are going to have more of that transactional, like, well, you do this and this is what I get paid for. And so people are going to give them that. How can they create a culture in which that autonomy, that desire to be adventurous and find those things, what's the first thing they can do to kind of start flipping that switch?
Yeah, the first thing they can do is to share, to Wes's point, share that expectation. Actually, part of the hiring process. The reason why you might want to join here is because we're going to give you opportunities to grow.
Make it clear. Yeah.
So that, first and foremost, set that clear expectation. But secondly, if you're a leader, act as a co-pilot in this process. Okay. You can say, understand that this is an individual who's going to be a pilot of their own journey to a degree, but you might be able to point out, based upon your talents and strengths in these areas, we think you'd be wonderful, or you might want to explore this opportunity to grow in this unique area. And here's a couple ways you can do that. So provide options, but also be really clear about what somebody gets as a result of taking on the additional energy and effort to grow in a particular way.
Yeah, because I suppose if it is part of the job, then it makes sense from the get-go. Yeah.
And it's a really great way to be able to then further compensate people and give them, hey, if you want to be able to you want to earn more money, awesome. These are some pathways that you can add additional value to the organization and be more valuable. Nice. So when you have reached these different certifications, you can do X, Y, and Z. Back when Advantage, even when people were hired as a telephone operator, we had 10 different certifications that people could earn within that job title. And if you earn 10, then you would be invited to participate in the team leader training. So this is where
many people did all 10.
We had probably a team about 45 at the time, about 14 team leaders.
Wow, yeah. So I mean,
And
yeah,
it was
good.
a process.
Nearly a third of your people,
Yeah.
or no, nearly 1/3 of all your people. That's great.
And it was wonderful because if somebody needed to take some time off, or hey, even just we had so
you
much
had it there.
We had a bench of people to be able to help support one another who had the knowledge and skills that then allowed our business to operate really quickly and not have to worry about absenteeism or anything else that might otherwise come up. But you can tie direct compensation to certifications, and
so they're incentivized people. So really, at the end of the day, people are incentivized to grow, become better.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, who does? I mean, really, again, to your point, like no one's really in that position where they don't want, or at least want to get better. And if you provide a clear, on ramp for that, then dude, great. What are your thoughts, Wes?
I think because it kind of goes back to that transactional nature of things. If you've set the precedent that you pay X for this job,
right,
and then people go and develop themselves and you expect them to do more, there probably should be a conversation about compensation. But if I was to give kind of one piece of advice to leaders who are looking to implement stuff like this, is don't fight it. Your people want to do this.
Yeah.
People generally want to grow and develop. They want to get better.
Yeah.
The psychology is really clear about we have an innate desire to get better at stuff. So don't fight it, and don't make it a chore. Make it a privilege. Like, hey, this is an exciting thing. This is a good thing.
Make it a journey. Make it fun.
Yeah. And honestly, give the ownership to them.
Right.
You don't have to own this thing. You don't have to be, you need to be involved as kind of a coach and as somebody who can encourage and enthusiastically get behind them.
Right.
But it should not feel like pulling a person along.
Yeah.
It shouldn't feel that way. Again, if you give the onus to them and let them kind of be the captains of their own ship, as it were, it is, to your point though, it is a significant lift initially to get this stuff put in place.
I think that's kind of where I was trying to touch on.
Especially
if it's not baked into.
Yeah, if you don't have it,
what you're doing.
It is very, very. But here's the thing: is that again, we will overcomplicate it we'll have different, because we will negotiate salaries at the individual level versus the positional level. Instead of saying we're willing to pay X for this type of work and just standing on that business and saying this is what we're about. This is where we get very cagey. It's like, well, Richard wants X amount of dollars, and Marty wants this, and Michelle
this
wants
much
this
experience.
Yeah.
or whatever.
And so now we're going to have all these deltas about what, just be clear about what that is, what that position is worth to you. This job gets paid this much.
Right.
And people can decide whether or not that's worth their time, effort, and energy.
Right.
But it goes back to that transactional nature that has been a bit of a theme for us. If we base everything on that,
right,
then there is an expectation that you pay people more. But because what was it, you got to put your time in and pay your dues and all that stuff, and that's when you start to climb the ladder. That thinking has been shown to be demonstrably flawed.
I'll say it again.
You go into an organization and you pay your dues. You don't get to grow or develop, or you don't get credit, you don't get your ideas, you don't get all this. That's not necessary. If you have people that are coming in and wanting to
go up the ladder.
Yeah. If you have people that are coming in
and
wanting to
start with the ladder.
Yeah.
Start with the ladder.
Give them the path.
Hey.
And just say, hey, start with the ladder. Put it on a
Marty,
t-shirt. Put it on a t-shirt.
But also make sure that that ladder that people are going to climb is along the right wall. Because sometimes people will climb the ladder and then get to a particular point and be like,
oh no,
I didn't even want this.
What have I done?
What have I done? Is this the right? Now that I've reached the kind of the quote unquote the promised land, this isn't necessarily what I wanted. So there's that flip side of that conversation. It's not just how you want somebody, what opportunities they can grow professionally, but how can they also grow personally?
Okay.
As a result. So that's kind of more of the advanced side of not just professional development, but also if you can integrate personal development into your organization. That may be another topic for another time. There's a number of different very easy practices organizations can do. We may have touched on it before, but provide a library of books or audiobooks for your team to be able to review, but also create a little bit of an incentive around it. Once you've read this book, write a 1-page report about what your greatest takeaway and how we might be able to implement an idea that you derive from this book into this business.
And so, I mean, I imagine, leaders listening to this, you even just said kind of like a string of things that I grasp, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of methods people could take. Mm-hmm. As we wrap this Stoke session up, I feel like it's one word. It's hard for me to say. I'll just be honest.
Stoke Session.
Stoke Session.
I mean, culture Stoke's one word.
Stoke Section. Yeah, but it's like it's the alliteration of the S. As we wrap this up, there's a lot you guys have said. If a leader is going to start
today,
mm-hmm. What's the one thing? I'm not trying to get into the weeds of it, but what's the one thing I'd say? What's the one mindset shift they can make, and what's the one practical thing they could do?
First mindset shift is really to recognize that you could be a co-pilot or a co-captain in somebody's professional development journey.
Okay.
The tactical thing that you probably should do is, again, get very clear of all of the roles within your organization, bottom up, top down, laterally, whatever it is, and then look at it and see what type of journey could somebody take who is now in maybe at the highest level position, but maybe these are elements that if someone were to be starting from the bottom, the junior associate goes this way,
multi-paths they could take.
Look at different paths that one can take, and from there, let it branch out.
I love, you said something when we were talking about this, but it just struck it hit my head, my noggin. You said treat the people inside like you do your clients, right? But like a common thing in marketing is like a client journey.
Yeah.
So it's a very similar, and that's how my brain thought of it's like create an employee journey. What does that look like? What's that path look like? And where does it end? Where does it start? What's the middle?
I think the mindset shift, the first thing that popped in my head is changing a bit. This will be a big mindset shift societally, because there's this thought that, to be successful in my career, that means I have to climb the ladder and become leadership.
Yeah, naturally.
And there are just certain people in the world that don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Not that I couldn't, totally capable, does not spark joy for me.
Yeah.
So creating your career paths under the auspices that there is a leadership track. If you want to go into leadership,
it's there.
Cool. If you want to become a technical expert, there are people that, there are certain niche technical expertises in every single organization. Doesn't matter what you do, whether it's food service or, working at a hardware store or working at a law firm, there are certain technical expertise that need to be there. And then there's how do I create development for people to excel within their role? Maybe they don't want to go and do everything. I mean, there are people that work the front desk. There are people that answer phones. There are people that do things that, traditionally we would look at and go, oh, that's an entry level position. But they're like, no, I love to do this.
I love this. This is awesome.
Is great.
Yeah.
How do we create developments for people that love to do the work that they do, for them to excel in their role?
Right.
That's a big mindset shift, not only for leaders, but for people, because they're like, how many people are listening right now that moved into leadership positions because that was how they thought, oh, this is how I show success in life. And they go, I hate this.
Like this is not fun.
This is not
I do
fun
not
for me.
like this.
Do not like, right? If they were Yelp reviewing right now, I would say, do not like.
I hate
and
this.
then the tactical thing, when you're having your performance discussions, when you're having your check-ins with people,
naturally a kind of a proverbial baked-in thing to a lot of organizations.
If you're making their development an expectation of their performance, it should have a hefty thing. Just make sure that there is something that they're working on.
Yeah.
And again, content-wise, at the end of the day, whatever, as long as you're setting the tone. Hey, I'm working on something. They could be their development could be, I'm working on becoming better at running meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to show, okay, well, what does that mean? What are you working on? Oh, well, I want to make sure I have agendas. Make sure they bring examples of agendas they built or something. Or it can be, I'm going to go and pursue a degree, whatever. But just make sure that is baked into part of the conversation. So if Marty and I are talking and I'm the leader, say, okay, here's KPIs, here's how you've been here's how you've been doing culturally, etc. Tell me about your journey on this fill in the blank thing that you said you wanted to work on. How's that going?
How's it going?
What barriers are you encountering? How can I help?
Love it. I love it. So I mean, at the end of the day, really for you, we're saying, hey, there's a mindset shift of maybe the ladder isn't necessarily leadership.
Nope.
Actually, it isn't.
Nope.
Define that ladder, because you actually said like, hey, start with the ladder, but like make sure to climb up the right wall. I didn't say like, hey, start with the right ladder, then then figure out the right wall.
Well, the wall could be, I want to climb the wall of leadership.
Whatever. That's what I'm saying. All I'm saying is just define those things and start early
and celebrate and value them equally.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. There you go. I think that's a great paradigm shift for a lot of people. Is like, hey, just because someone doesn't want to climb the proverbial corporate ladder doesn't necessarily mean that they can't still shoot for the stars. You know what I mean? Be amazing.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Look at leadership, technical, mentorship, training. There's so many different angles that do not have to end up in the destination of quote unquote leadership or management.
Yeah.
Totally. And that is okay. But to that point, celebrate individuals' progress.
Yeah. Not the leadership, the position necessarily.
Yes.
I love it. Well, hey, that was our, I think, third. I want to say culture sesh, but it's wrong. It's Stoke Sessions.
Stoke Sessions.
Sorry.
Stoke
Sessions. That's it. We're here, and so we'll see you next time at our next Stoke Session. Boys, as we always say, Culture Stoke, happier people,
better results.
Thanks for listening to the Culture Stoke podcast. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like, subscribe, and rate us wherever you tune in. Share this episode with anybody who could use a culture boost. Until next time, keep stoking the fire.